Bonjour mes amis, this is my Sealy doing another commentary video for Napoleon Total War. I am in command of the Russians and my opponent Comotose commands the French. This is a rather long battle, so I was forced to fast forward a couple minutes. What you have missed is that we have essentially set up our lines and he has charged on my right flank. I'll just list my forces and his forces. I have an army consisting of 3 mounted rifles, a Pulvergrad Hussars, 1 Chevalier Guard, 3 cuirassiers, another Chevalier Guard, my General Mikhail Kutuzov, and some artillery, 2 unicorns and 1 6-pound artillery. His force is 3 lancers, 3 grenadiers à cheval, 4 chasseurs, 1 general staff, and 2 units of artillery à pied. We are both using kind of unconventional forces, and as such he was forced to charge mine on the right flank, and it is going to be an epic battle for the right flank that will consist of the entire battle between us. His cavalry have charged in and mine have countercharged, including my general Mikhail Kutuzov, which just issued um, a rallying bonus for my men to give them a bit more of an advantage towards his numbers. Let's sweep across his forces. He has his infantry, the chasseurs, and they are charging as well. However, my artillery pieces at my center are attacking his men. As I said, this is a rather long battle, so I'm sorry I had to cut that out, but otherwise it wouldn't fit on YouTube. Back on my right flank, I have added forces from my left flank to reinforce the men that I had, and as you can see, he is just continually pouring in reinforcements as well, and so it will be an epic struggle for the right. I unfortunately have put my general right in the midst of the conflict. As you can see, he is here and he is losing men, bodyguards, quite rapidly. However, my opponent kept his general safely out of the fray, which was probably the smarter idea. He's still there to provide morale bonus, but he isn't in any danger of dying. Back towards the center, my artillery continues to pound on his infantry, which are advancing towards the fight. However, I am bringing up the rest of my left flank to counteract his charging infantry, and as you can just see, my general in the midst of the fray was cut down and is killed. His bodyguard and his general remain at full force and continue to bolster his morale. As you can see, I am charging my left flank, the remaining units of my left flank towards his infantry, at the same time attacking them with the artillery barrages from my center. He has chasseurs and they are able to fire off at some of my cavalry, but as you know, cavalry attacking infantry is usually able to be quite effective, especially when you have equal numbers and have charging bonuses involved. As you can see, I have mounted rifles and they are able to pull off a few volleys towards his infantry. Back on the right flank, it continues to be a titanic struggle. We have about equal numbers, however, he added infantry to the fray, which are just adding more and more casualties to both sides. My morale remains quite strong, while his, on several units, continues to dip lower and lower into the red, and some of his men will begin to rout quite shortly here. Back at the center, I have set my men and he is charging towards them. However, he does not see at his rear that I am charging with my Chevalier Guard, which are quite elite cavalry units. And so at this moment I will retreat my cavalry in order to give my guards a quick and easy access to his rear flank, and then at this moment I will return my retreating cavalry in order to flank him on both sides. Back at the right, it continues as ever to just be an epic fight. It seems like little is happening except, as you can see, from the mass of dead on the ground, that the men just continue to fight for this ground. His artillery pieces continue to pound at my men. However, he only has 2 units of artillery and I have 3. Plus I have 2 units of unicorns, which are undoubtedly the best non-fixed artillery pieces in this game. As you can see at the center, I was able to rout his infantry, and his center is completely crushed. Back at the right, I am able to continue to inflict damages upon his units, and they will, yep, as I was about to say, they will rout quite shortly. His men are beginning to break all across the field, and now they will run, which I don't think was a good idea. I would have kept them committed, because now my cavalry will just run them down, as cavalry are wont to do when faced with retreating infantry. And at this moment, I bring my cavalry back from the center in order to continue to break his units, and we will continue to charge. And this will continue for the next minute or so, so I will fast forward us just to make sure that we have time for the last epic charge of my cavalry towards his artillery pieces. As you can see, at that moment I was able to kill off his general, and I continue to rout his infantry. We'll keep fighting. We are on the Grassy Flatlands, and so essentially it is basically a tactical battle. There's little in use for terrain fighting when everything is flat. And as you can see, his units are all now routed, except for his artillery. And towards that end, I send a unit of cavalry towards him. I am sending 2 mounted rifles and 1 chevalier guard, and these men will be tasked with charging all the way across the field to attack his artillery au pied, which, for some strange reason, he decided to advance. One of the most advantages of having artillery au pied is that their range is 600, which is one of the longest ranges of artillery on the game, and yet he advances them even though he was able to effectively hit my artillery from where he was. I'm not sure why he decided to advance, but nonetheless, he is moving forward. As you can see, I have now had my men, and they are charging. We'll fast forward just a little bit more as they run even quicker across the field, given new strength and resolve by my clicking of the double time meter. And here we are, the last glorious charge of my cavalry. As you know, cavalry charging straight down the enemy barrels of artillery is usually not always successful, and certainly without bloodshed. As you can see, though, it is quite glorious to run with the light cavalry, and yet it is seldom lived to regret. As you can see, he just cuts down my first unit of cavalry, and they are shattered and retreat right away. But I have one last unit. I have my Chevalier Guard. Oh, and as you can see, he cut down my second mounted rifles, and they are now retreating. Of the 3 original charging units, I only have 1 left, and they only have 11 men. And here we are. This is the end of the fight. I have reached his last 2 units, and my cavalry guard will cut them down. At this moment, he decided to abandon his guns and charge in for one last attempt. And we will continue right here for this last moment. As you can see, my artillery continues to fire even though my men are there, and we inflict some casualties. This is the end of the battle. So good game to my opponent, Comotose, and you can see the results right here.